Hi, everybody out there at Mysterium 2020. Welcome to the Myst IV panel. I'm Kha'tie. We hope you're all having an amazing time at this virtual convention. And I just want to start by thanking the Mysterium Committee for having us all here. They've done an incredible job this year. I've been a witness to a lot of it. And trust me when I say they are working round the clock tirelessly to bring this whole thing to you. So thank you, Mysterium Committee. So I'm Kha'tie. I've been working in the Myst community on and off in official and non-official capacities since 2001. And I'm really proud to host this incredible panel of Myst IV developers. They're all part of the team that created Revelation, which launched in 2004. So welcome Genevieve Lord, Patrick Fortier, and Jack Wall. I'd like each of you to introduce yourselves and share a bit about what you did on Myst IV and what you've been doing since then. So Genevieve, take it away.
Hi, my name is Genevieve Lord. I was one of the two producers on Myst IV. And what I've been doing since then, now I'm at the head of college and helping students to become game designer, programmer, artists. At the time, it was my first game. I don't know if you want me to go into that now.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
They just happened. The first producer, I was expecting a baby, so they needed a manager, and I had no experience at all on games. But one thing on my resume, I had put that I had played all the Myst till then. And they say, oh, you've played all the Myst. In fact, they interviewed me. They said, do you want to be a game producer? I said, yes, I would. And then after they say, okay, you're going to sign an NDA, then we're going to tell you the game. Then I signed the NDA. Then they said, okay, the game is Myst. I went like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It was like a dream come true, you know, like being part of the legend. I was so excited.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, the love that you had for the whole game series really showed in the final product, I have to say. Even though I know you personally, I also know you, I know from a fan perspective that came through. Patrick, welcome.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me. My name is Patrick Fortier. I was the creative director on Myst IV, and that was my first gig as creative director. But it wasn't my first game. But I was very young to the industry, and you know, in preparation for this panel, I started replaying a little bit Revelation in the last few weeks, and you know, there's things I would maybe change a little bit in there, maybe a little bit differently now. Looking back, but it was a blast. We had a great team. I had a very atypical profile to be working on a Myst game because I grew up more with an arcades background, and you know, and I'd played Myst originally and liked it, but I wasn't like the greatest fan. But like obviously the first thing, and all of us did on the core team, we played all the Myst games. We read all the books. We read as much as we could from the forums as well, and then like really understand what the fans liked. And it was like a deep dive. And you know, after that, and those were like the first few weeks or maybe a month of the project. And then after, like, you know, we were all in. And I knew that it was gonna work out when I had a dream about the solution of a puzzle in Myst I, because I'd never fully finished Myst, the original Myst before, and obviously like now we finished them all. And it was a puzzle with the elevator where you have to lift the elevator and make it go up, and then I had a dream about that, and I woke up and I'm like, just lift the elevator, and I tried it and it worked. I was like, oh, okay, this is a good sign. You know, I think we're into it now. And since then I left Ubisoft. I spent about 10 years at Ubisoft. Did some other work in some other companies. Worked with Patrice Desilets back at the you know, THQ Montreal, things like that. And then went back to, well, not went back, but it felt like going back. I went to Eidos Montreal about 6-7 years ago. And I say went back because I'm working with Mary DeMarle and some good friends who started back at Ubisoft back. It's been 23 years ago now that I've been in the industry. So yeah, and we're working on an unannounced project it's going to be announced soon, but we're pretty excited about it. We've been working on that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Please give everybody everybody's love to Mary.
Yes.
We miss her, and yeah, just tell her we're all thinking about her right now. So Jack, hi, welcome.
Hi.
We haven't seen you in at least minutes.
Yes.
So welcome back again.
Happy to be here. Yes, my name's Jack Wall. I composed the score for Myst IV Revelation, which is why I'm here. Let's see. Yeah, it was a really fun project to work on. I just remember being asked by Catherine Raw, who is the producer, and then Genevieve, of course, do you really want to do this game? You did Myst III. Do you really want to do that? I'm like, yes, I do. I think the Myst series to me is like, one of the most proud things in my entire career. It was so, I got into the game industry because of the original Myst. So working on these games has been a dream, was a dream for me, certainly. Since then, I'm an independent composer, so if anybody asks me to write music for them, I say yes. So yeah, I've worked on Mass Effect and Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow, Jade Empire, a lot of Call of Duty games in the last 8 years. A lot of independent little games. I also have done a few TV shows. Reign on the CW, which is REIGN, about Mary Queen of Scots. I worked on that for 4 years, and then also did another show, like a young adult fantasy show called Shadow Hunters, about hunting demons and stuff like that. So yeah, but this is a wonderful. I'm so glad to go back, dive back into the memories on this game with these fine developers here. So thanks for having me.
So I have to say, just if you'll give me one moment, I had probably what is one of the greatest experiences for a Myst fan ever on the planet. And that is, I was a Myst fan first, and I was part of the community, and I was helping, volunteer with a couple things there. I went to Spokane and I met the guys at Cyan, and then said, if you ever want help with community, and then Ubisoft said, hey, you were one of the names we got. I ended up getting the job for Uru, and on my first day at Uru at Ubisoft on the 5th floor, was I 4th floor? Anyway, the
5th floor, yeah.
Yeah, the producer said, come with me, I want to show you something. I'm like, okay, sure, so I put down all my stuff, and he took me on the elevator, and he opened this door, and there's this whole team of people just working on a game. He's like, I really want to introduce you to this team. I said, sure. And we walked in, and I think, Patrick, you were the first one to say hi to me. Anyway, I'm like, what is this? And you pointed to a screen, and I just about wet my pants. It was Myst IV. You guys were and it was almost in alpha. You guys were so quiet about it. You were so sneaky. None of the fans knew about it. And I almost fainted. I was so excited. So I got to see it early on, and then to work on it, obviously afterwards, was yet another dream come true. So I don't know how you kept that a secret. Like, do you remember those days? You talk about reading in the forums and understanding what fans wanted, but what people don't realize, because they had just played Exile, they don't realize Myst IV was almost in development longer than Myst III. Like, it was in development alongside it for a long time. Yeah, is that right?
I think so. I mean, I forget like some of the logistical details of the start, but I think it was at the same time the Ubisoft acquired Prince of Persia and Myst, and so there was a team working on that, and then we had the team working on Myst, and I'd worked with Catherine before, and I felt like joining that team, and I love all kinds of different games, so it's not like I wasn't as big a fan as some of the other people on the team at that moment in time, but it was an exciting thing, to work on that franchise. And then all the more so, like, when we started really deep diving into it, I mean, I learned so much. I remember, like, it was for my career, I would say, because I was still very young, learning how to do my craft, and picking up from Myst to Riven, the making of the book,
yeah,
and then reading that and seeing all the, and just, you know, just starting to see the matrix a little bit, you know, starting to see like, okay, like every single piece of data that you put in the game should be doing something. It should be conveying something. It should be it should be pulling the story. Everything should be in the same direction. You know, the music, the visuals, the background, and that's why I felt like when I went to Eidos and I worked on Deus Ex, and they already understood that they actually had a name for it. They called it the show don't tell, and you could just say add a little bit more show don't tell.
yes.
And it's just this idea of like, you know, what is there is super important. I remember this big you know, like not everybody on the team understood that at the time. We were doing Atris's office, and we were trying to show, like, you know, so it should show like who he is and how organized he is, and somebody like just plots a big ink well, you know, that was on the side, and there's a big ink stain, and there's all like stuff everywhere, and it's just like, oh, it looks better this way, you know, it makes the picture look more dynamic. But I'm like, yeah, but no, you know, like no, that's not, you know, that's not what we want to show about Atris at that point. That's not the story that we're telling about him right now in his office. It's important that it's not like that, you know. And then so there was a lot of learning from that. And then like Riven, of course, I think it was all of our favorite, you know, on the creative team. And in those early days, it was a big question mark, like what should we follow the bubble technology from Myst III, or go back to like having a you know, more resolution of having like the single image. And we debated with that a long time, or like going the 3D route, because like you said, Uru was coming out. So there was a lot of talks about that originally. And we had George also, George Chastain, who was on the project and being called up. And he was a key part also of shepherding, you know, that creative team. And he knew every, you know, all the ins and outs. And he was such an integral part of that early creative effort and laying the groundwork for it. And we wouldn't have been able to do it without, well, not in a way that we were true to the franchise. Without him, he was invaluable.
Was integral in that lore, right? Absolutely. Yeah. Genevieve, you said this was your first job as producer. I mean, I know there are tons and tons of things you can be proud of in Myst IV, but what are a couple of your proudest accomplishments with the game? Because it really was, in a lot of ways, it was very different from what came before, while staying true to what had come before.
There's quite a number of accomplishments. First of all, the recognition was really great. I mean, we got many prize and nomination, in big part because of Jack and the whole artistic team, who was so amazing, and also the design team. I mean, we were really, the reception was awesome, even though it was a kind of game that was not, I mean, we saw it afterwards. They didn't use that kind of bubble technology anymore. And it's the first time I recognized when, for example, the Tate Museum, the new Tate Museum in London, they contacted us and they said they wanted to do an exhibition about Myst IV. And I thought, wow, no, we have games that are in a museum. And then next thing you know, we went to E3 and they started Best Picture, and they selected our picture, one of our images.
Right.
And then more and more I thought, okay, people do recognize that games are arts, games are a valid way of expression. And that really made a difference for me. I was really happy about that. I was happy also because it was a very big challenge for the team. And I think all the people on their team were very, very gifted, and they put a lot of themselves into that game. And I think it shows. And, you know, I think everybody can thank them for what they did. It was amazing.
It was amazing. Jack, you had worked on Myst III, and then you were asked to be on Myst IV. What were some things that you brought with you that were just kind of easy to pick up again? But what were you able to build on as an experience? Like, what were you able to kind of, just because of either technology or things you had learned, you know, that were different from going from Myst III to Myst IV?
You know, I don't really remember what I brought with me other than really sitting down with the team to learn, you know, what the story was and, you know, what the lore was really. And I wanted to bring that to be reflected in the music. And I just remember organizing this world tour where I would go around and record literally all over the world to get the sounds that I was looking for. And it was just such an amazing time to be able to do that. I remember this last year, I was in Poland to visit. We were visiting the opera there. My wife is a composer too, and she was talking to the Polish, Warsaw Opera, Chamber Opera, about something to do with her work. And while we were there, I met with an old friend of mine who used to be in the Warsaw Village Band, and I recorded a song with them that I wrote, and they sort of arranged for me, and we recorded the song in a day. What was the name of that song? Why can't I remember that? Welcome, it was called. So that was one stop on my tour back in 2004 or 3 or whatever it was. We did that. We recorded the score in Bratislava with the orchestra, and then we did some recordings with a choir in Montreal, Dragana, I think their name was. And they were sort of, I was looking for, I wanted to work with the Bulgarian women's choir because they have a certain sound, you know. And there's all these, the monastery and Serenia and the Serenians that were these women who would sing. And so that was the impetus for doing that. So, so between that and some singers here in LA, we cobbled together. I actually tried to work with the Bulgarian women's choir, but there was a guy here in LA who had signed them, and he wanted $50,000 or something like that, which is was like the entire budget for the entire score. So so we said no to that, and we made it work without them. But
it definitely had like a really deep spiritual feel to it, like especially when you're in Serenia, right? Like that whole age. I mean, I know it was the spiritual age, but yeah, I mean, you nailed it, I think, for getting the proper mood and tone.
I mean, like whenever we got new tracks from Jack, it was like such a highlight, and everybody would be like downloading it. You'd see like headphones popping on desktops. And
but
I usually got to be the one, you know, early, because with the time difference, you know, it'd be like later at night, and I'd get my little hands on it, and then I'd try the age, and I'd be playing it, and I'd be like, oh my god, like you know, because I mean, music is half maybe more than half, to be honest, you know, like because you could close your eyes and just hear it, and you're there, right? So it's such a big part, and he was like nailing it. And I remember like lots of late night discussions with Jack, like this is what we're trying to do, and this is what the puzzle, this is what's going on, and that this is the feeling, you know, you get lost, and you get caught by the wind, and you crash, and you have to feel lost and a little threatening, and it was it was amazing working with you.
I think Robin probably started the trend of the music being super important.
But Genevieve, do you remember when I came to you and said, because for like months I wasn't hearing any feedback on the music, so I went to Genevieve and I said, are you guys okay with the music? Like, and like she started laughing, and she goes, oh my god, no, everybody loves everything you've ever sent. And I'm like, so there's no feedback? You don't want me to change anything? No, it's all fine. I'm like, because I was really worried. I think I was saying to my wife, like, I don't think they like my music at all, you know. So
no, something I would like to say, the music, I mean, you know, it's the last things that get into the game. Like at the end, you just tie everything up with the music. You have to wait for the animations and everything. So my stress was to provide all that to Jack fast enough so that he could do the final tab. And that was a lot of stress because not only did he do an amazing music, but on top of it, he had to do it under tremendous pressure because it was all the way at the end after everybody else. Then we like, Jack, there, you can put the music. And he's like, oh my God. So amazing job.
So a question for, so this one doesn't have a question giver, but I think it probably came from the panel last night for Rand and Robin. So whoever asked this question of them, I stole it to ask Patrick. If you were going to remake the game, or Genevieve, if you were going to remake the game with today's technology, what would you do differently? Oh man, we'd be here for hours if you pick too many things, but there must be a couple things that you can kind of sum up.
This one is for Patrick.
Yeah.
Just throwing me out there. I don't know. I mean, I like that it was one of the last of its kind with the live action, and I thought it really added a lot. You know, I think looking back now, I played it. You know, there's things where I'd be maybe a little bit more rigorous with our, you know, the casting. You know, like maybe not pick a girl with a French Canadian accent and things like that. You know, like
it worked.
She gave a great performance, but
it worked though
a little bit. And like the introduction, I think some of the rendering wasn't, you know, great and things like that. But the I don't know. I mean, I think we were trying to be like it's like I like what the game was trying to do, but you know, there's definitely things there that it's more in the pacing and things like that. You know, now I replayed it, and some things, you know, like you know, why is the Atreus puzzle at the beginning? Like, why do we have to do both phases? You know, just one would have been enough to get, you know, keep the flow going and things like that.
And I wouldn't be wearing this shirt.
But I forgot we made a whole puzzle with the telescope, and we had this awesome node we called the bubbles nodes. And we had one on top of the whole thing, and we had this whole view, and then we had to cut it at the end because we couldn't, the rendering, like we had rendering. I remember being in so many meetings near the end with Genevieve, like how are we going to manage to do it? And the team was questioning, like, what are you guys doing? And why are you adding those animations in there? And what's the point of that? And why are we doing that? And then why it's like, and then when the game came out, you know, people will come back and, oh my God, all the reviews, they're all talking about how it moves and how it feels alive. You can feel the wind and all those animations we struggled over, and you guys were right. And you know, but it's difficult. You know, everybody's working on a little micro piece of the thing, and
picture,
and they don't know like what the global what the global thing is. But I don't know. One thing, it has nothing to do with technology, but one thing I would have taken a stab at once we did the press tour and with Rand a little bit and got to spend a little bit more time with them, I would have tried to reunite, you know, Rand and Robin, to replay those the brothers, you know, like I you know, after I felt like there might have been a chance, you know, if we'd been fully dedicated to that. And originally when we went to Cyan, you know, like everybody was like, no, don't talk about that, don't talk about Robin, don't talk about anything like that, don't talk about those, you know, that's a big no, don't do it. And then I don't know, like we were in a restaurant at some point in France or something. I think that it came up, you know, would you have liked to play Achenar? I said, oh yeah, I would have had a blast.
No, in Montreal. Like, it was the night before Rand filmed all his live action spots, or either like, the night.
Idiots! Why didn't we like? We should have gone there, and we should have spent more time, you know, like making.
It was when
happen.
he was
so I have
finished.
a regret about that, you know. I felt like it might have been possible. They would have added something.
Yeah, because he had just finished filming, and I'm like, that wasn't so bad, was it? He goes, actually, not at all. And that's when he said the thing about Achenar, and you were just like, yeah. It was because he filmed all that in Montreal.
Right.
So now we have tons of.
But I remember distinctly feeling at one point like that could have.
It could have been.
And like with more experience now and knowing, like I would have gone for that. You know, I would have taken a shot, you know, like don't take no as an answer right away, you know, like sometimes you gotta knock on that door again, and there's a possibility of But you know, having said that, I mean, we did what we did, and the performances were good. But it would have added that much more authenticity to the game, and that's a little regret maybe.
Tell Mary on Monday you're planning a remake. You'll remake the game again.
Yeah.
Genevieve's just like, no.
Don't know if she's gonna like me if I say that.
Well, Calamus said in chat that first view of Tomana outside on the bridge, watching the water flow, the birds fly by, the bushes moving in the wind, complete jaw-dropping moment. So like just what you said, when the reviews came in, that was well worth it. So we have somebody named Flying Unhindered, and he says, when in production, did the idea come up to allow the player to release Yisha's bugs on Tomana? You remember that, Genevieve?
Yeah, no, I don't remember that discussion. Pat?
I remember, I think it was done already, and it just felt like it'd be like we had the node, the bugs were there, but we didn't have necessarily the animation to do it. And it just felt like something natural that, you know, like you want to, it's that extra little bond with the character, and you want to be a little bit naughty, and you want to, and it adds a possibility, because you feel a strong reaction, you know, when the character talks about something that you did, you know, and that you could legitimately think that, you know, maybe it's not such a good thing to do. Maybe not. You might have done it by accident, but it's, you know, it just added that much more, because that was the whole thing, right? Like really making you feel like you were in there, and like how could we push the bubble technology more? And it was more like things like when I started asking the sound design to put sounds on every single surface that you could touch with a hand, that their eyes went big, and then it's like they started sweating, and they're like, what? And I'm like, no, but you know, but like, why? What gameplay is that? I'm like, there's no gameplay, but you know, since you're looking, you know, you're searching for stuff, and you want to feel like you're there, and you want to, it's going to add that much more. And it was such a big endeavor, and they had to develop like special technology, and they were like, it's all handcrafted. Like which part of there was one person working like full time on creating those little spaces and mapping them up and then adding the sounds, and they'd never produced on any game like as many unique sounds of crinkling of paper and pencils and wood and metal and rock and leaves, but I just felt in the end that it added like a big touch, you know, for this kind of game, you know, even though it wasn't full 3D and that you couldn't actually fully navigate the environment, but like maybe that's the thing. And technologically wise, we did think about that, having the animated transitions between the nodes, and we did some tests. I think it was just before you came, Genevieve, and then it was just, but it was too costly, and it would added too much work, and then those transitions would have to, you know, the scenes need to be finished, and it created too big a dependency, but it was nice. It added a kind of nice fluidity between the nodes, and that could have been something, you know, that maybe today that would be much easier to do.
Kha'tie, something that we discussed a lot were the books. Like, would you fade from one page to another, where you're going to have see the page moving? What kind of animation? No, nowadays you see books like that in all kinds of games, but at the time it was not at all.
It was too.
So
it would have just taken up so much of the resources at the time.
Well, that took a lot of discussion. Like,
I still have like the paper versions of those books, you know, like we still
look at this.
We made them before, like so we would read them out, and like the one with the different types of inks and all of that, you know, like the different colors, and it's printed in color, and we did a lot of work with that with Mary.
So I think you answered Squee Lover's question, which was, what was the thought behind letting the player touch everything? And the next question is for Jack, which is, it's from Telrov Chris today. What was your vision on how to evolve the music from Exile to Revelation? Did you want to do something different, or keep it the same?
No, I definitely wanted to do something different, because it's a different game with different worlds. And I just wanted the music to match each world that we were going to, and that's really the fun of Myst, because, you know, you're going to a whole different place, and what does that place sound like? You know, these are all handcrafted levels, handcrafted worlds in these books. So the music should be much different, and it really was. I mean, when I did Myst III Exile, it was, you know, I did a deep dive into Robin's music, and you know, there wasn't a lot of like, you know, themes, because it was more like ambiances that made those games, right? So we were playing more with melody. So there was only one theme that I remember bringing forward, and that was Atris's theme from the original Myst.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think if I'm looking at this here, this is the original CD that came out. Maybe Yisha's Joyride or something like that. I'm going from you know, memory from a long time ago. I haven't listened to this in a long time. But yeah, I think maybe one or two had some elements from the original Myst, Robin's stuff, but everything else was pretty different and unique, I think.
Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, but also you also developed a system so that there would be a variation that.
Oh, that's right. Like, yeah, that's right.
Especially for us.
Yeah, that
Maybe
was Simon. Yeah, Simon Pressey created, who was the audio director, right? Back then.
Which is normal nowadays, but at the time, I think you were one of the first one.
Yeah, so I took a lot of the score and we did, you know, mixed it in stems. So there was like, you know, a stem of rhythm and a stem of, you know, like pads and atmospheres, and then a stem of melody or orchestra or something. And Simon Pressey created this sequencer for Myst IV. And so we could implement the music on our own. And so it ran on a PC, and then we would put the music in, and we would just play with the parameters until there was enough variation. Oh yeah, I remember. I would chop up the melody into little segments, and then we would tell the engine, to the sequencer, to play it in order, but with a random number of seconds between each melodic phrase. And so, you know, all music, no matter how many times you heard it, was always different in every level, which was kind of cool. It was very unique back then.
Yeah, that is cool.
So we put a lot of time and love into implementing this music into Myst IV. Yeah. Forgot about that. Thank you.
So Acrophile Explorer says the story in Revelation made the player, quote, a friend of the family. The moment Atris says, "You're the only one we can trust. You're no longer just my friend or the stranger. You're a best friend to the whole family, an aunt or an uncle to Yisha and the boys, a brother, sister figure to Atris and Catherine, someone they would trust with their house keys." And he's saying that's huge. So I want to know, was that something Mary developed? Did that come from, you know, George's days? Like, at what point did you guys feel like, well, because you had seen Riven where he's like, "Oh, thank goodness you've returned," and then you'd seen Exile where Katran's like, "Hey, come on in, you know, Atris is expecting you," and then in Revelation he's like, "You're the only one we can trust." So who determined that would be a good progression? Do you remember?
I think it was early on, the creative team. We wanted to make it a very personal story, and we wanted it to tie to some of the key lore, you know, in the Myst series. And then, you know, by then we felt like if you're going to be doing that as a player, and you're going to be you know, you're judging his sons, so to speak, right? Like, because you're that neutral person, you know, looking in, and he wants your opinion. So it like, who would you normally give a task like that to? You know, it'd be somebody you trust a lot, you know. And then we thought it'd be interesting to you know, being able to visit Tomana for the first time and really, you know, feel like you can enter his world, and that like that he'd feel comfortable having you, you know, like go around the house and the office and you know, like, so it made a lot of sense. And then with the relationship with Yisha and all that, and then she trusts you. So we just felt like it just felt like a natural evolution of what had happened before. Like you've been with this guy so many times, you know, you've done so much already. Like, so we've had a big impact on his life. So you'd be a part of his life. It was a big thing we really wanted to nail Tomana, and we scrapped. I don't know, were you there, or did you see like the second version already, Genevieve, of Tomana? I
think it was a second version.
Okay, because we completely scrapped Tomana because it just felt wrong, you know, like it was bad, you know, like. And then our new art director, Minor Henson, came in, and that was such an eye opener for me too, like working with the art director of his caliber, and then just like going out, like the thought process, you know, like the basic, you know, like the themes and the shapes that he wanted to use for each one, you know, and like for Tomana, it's the crossed circle, and you know, it always represents unity, openness, you know, the living world, the earthly life, creation, you know, things like that. And that was the process. So then he started building the shapes out of that, and the buildings and the windows, and making everything open, which was a kind of a rendering nightmare. But and then for the animations, you could see all the time from everywhere. But it added like, and then it's just like when we created like the lab there, and the entrance leading up to it, and it's just majestic, and you had this view of the whole thing, and we felt like, yeah, this is it, you know, it's not just a house, you know, because what we were doing before was just not doing it. And then everything started falling into place, and it's just the theme. And then we carried the same kind of philosophy for we had like keywords for each age, you know, from a thematic and narrative point of view. But
I remember
he took that and did the equivalent, you know, from a visual point of view as well, and it just brought everything to like a whole other level.
Genevieve, there's a question from Philip Shane, who's the director of the Myst documentary. He zeroed in on something you said at the start, which was about the tape. And you said the game won Best Picture. Did you mean like art, or Best Picture, like
picture, like arts?
Film? Like art. Like, yeah.
That year, E3 started what's the best image from a game?
E3, yeah, it was. It had a name, and I remember they were all along the hall when you walked out of the main hall. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah,
it was called Into the Picture.
Into the
Pixel.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the theater looked online, but I've never found any trace of it online.
I think they hosted each year though. Yali has a really good question. Yali, I gotta say, you've had really good questions so far, all 2 days so far. They keep making it into these panels, so they must be good. How much of the original Dreamforge version made it into what we know as the current version? And were there any concepts that were reused or expanded upon, or did you restart, like you just talked about, you know, scrapping the first version of Tomana and doing the second one? Was it all like that, or did you bring, other than lore, did you bring a lot in from that original?
I don't remember much from the Dreamforge. Like I remember reading it, but
I remember the document was like this big.
We were already set in our vision at that point. We already had an idea. I think they were going back with the brothers too. I think, you know, they were exploring so I think maybe we might have kept that, and I think maybe George was more familiar with that, and that's where we that's where we, oh, you're so sweet. My son just brought me blueberries, so I'm gonna eat blueberries. But other than that, when we read it, when we actually got access to it and read it, I think we already had an idea like how we wanted to do it, and it was interesting. Like, you know, they would have done this or that, or have these characters, but we really didn't, you know, base ourselves on it very much. We went more with, you know, what we experienced from playing the rest of the game, the themes, and then, you know, identifying those keywords. And I remember like that was one of the first. I was trying to find the process because I wanted to see the whole game before it was made. So I remember like building this big bored, and I wanted, because you always run out of room, you know, on a screen, and you have to scroll, and I just wanted to see like everything at once, and we had like all the nodes and the number of puzzles and the number of vistas and you know, and it was all there, and you could see like where we had
Wasn't
more,
that in that little room? What was the little room off the main?
Yeah, it was.
We spent a day in there with Post-it notes. I remember when we were doing the marketing, we were coming up with the tagline, and that was like a 6-hour process, right? Like we were pulling out, okay, what are the iconic words like red and blue and brothers, and you know, and just to come up with what was something about the family, you know, what we ended up with. But that was a full day's work, just coming up with like a 8-word tagline. Jack, are the this is from Calamus, who you know quite well. Are the translations of the Nirani lyrics from Revelation? I know you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming from the Revelation soundtrack in that box in your shed. And will you release them to us? There, Calamus, you owe me one.
Man, gee, he must have been part of the last panel.
Yeah.
Yes, I promise you I'll do it. I'm sort of like in crunch mode on a game right now through the mid-September, and then I think I've kind of clear sailing for the rest of the year. So I will take some time and dig them up, and I'm going to give them to you, Kate.
Okay.
And you will distribute.
And I'll fly to Utah. I like it. That sounds good. I will happily share with Cyan, and we can distribute those. That's cool.
If I can't find them, because I'm pretty sure they're in a box. If I can't find them, I'll dig back in. I'll just do my own translation from memory. But I'm sure
apologies to Cindy in advance for overturning her life and you know, all the shelves in her room. So we
did, Katie. We did made a lot of the concept art public. Like I sent them last. I don't remember when.
I have tons of it here still.
The whole team was really supportive, and everybody sent concept arts, because at the end, imagine at the end of the production, they were gonna destroy them all. So I
remember during the Myst 25th, you sent a ton of stuff that you and Pascal.
If we're gonna destroy them, can I give them to the team? So everybody in the team left with some of the concept art. So last year, I contacted everybody and I say, like, please send them back, like at least scan them, you know.
Scan is great. Yeah, they ended up in the reward
for the fans.
Rewards for the fans. Yeah. So what was the intent? Okay, so this is cool. We have kind of a twofer. We have Callum Traveler and Squeefruit who ask. Callum says, "What was the inspiration for the memory amulet and the Serenia dream state?" And Squeefruit says, "What was the intent with the puzzles, for the dream puzzles? Was it to provide one final challenge or just to tie up loose ends? Was it for, you know, like..."
Well, the amulet was originally, Mary was really angry with me because the amulet, which she wanted to use it just as a narrative thing.
Cool, yeah.
It was a little theme, and she was going to use it, and it was just a small thing, you know. And I'd been searching for a long time, you know. In the back of my head, I was like, we need something else, you know, to be able, because we actually built a whole document about like, how do we tell the story in a game like Myst? And we're like, oh, you know, well, there's the blah blah blah. There's the back. This is what we have to tell about the character. This is what you see in the background. This is what they say. This is what. But like, I was like, yeah, okay, but we need to track that. You know, I want to make sure that it's in the and then so there was a gradation, you know, a certain value on things, and I was like, well, you know, the live action video that's the top of the line, you know, in terms of creating. Communicating something with the player, and that he's gonna witness and internalize and understand, and then, you know, like, okay, reading a journal is cool, but it's not the same, you know, it's a different, you know, level. And then seeing something in the background that, you know, that's a lesser level, it's important too. But like, so and I felt like we didn't have a lot of opportunities to really see the characters in their environment. And then once we started developing Serenia, and we started talking about the amulet, and I was like, oh, I could use that in, you know, gameplay. That would be great, and that would give players an opportunity to have those extra moments to carry the narrative and have these impactful things that they could witness. And then it just complexified the amulet like ever so much. And Mary's like, I just wanted my amulet for the pond with Serena. That's all.
And yet she's still willing to work with you after all this time.
Yeah, and then that made her develop like that much more work. But like a lot of those scenes were very, very memorable because of that. It was nice to have something different from journals and pages and video. Yeah, and it was to have that added difference. Like it's all about variety. You don't want to just go and have the same pattern like repeat all over again. And then it allowed us to showcase some of the more dramatic moments and let you get an understanding, like because you can see something in the amulet and think a certain thing, and like interpret it. And then once you start reading the journals or going to the age or speaking with a character, then you can have like, oh, well, maybe that's not what he was doing. Maybe that, out of context. And then to me, that's what video games are all about. They make you learn about yourself, like any game, like you're playing a platform. I'm afraid of like bottomless pits in the platformers, because like I like to feel safe and like my risk management, and there's the and then just even a game like that, so any game is like that. And then so to confront the player, say, well, here's what you saw, here's what you thought, and then as you start digging in a little bit more, maybe challenge your own thinking and wait, why did I jump to that conclusion on such little evidence, and then I think rich games allow you to do that and to delve into that even more. And Myst is definitely one of those that really challenges you intellectually and adds that depth.
So this probably
Kha'tie,
go ahead.
I wonder if I can say something out of questions.
Yes, please.
Or you're gonna close my screen. I would like to say I've been playing games all my life, like intensively, but the Myst series is the only one that kind of suck you in like a book, like one of the books. In that
literally,
I played the first Myst, then I played the next Myst with my kids. Then I produced a Myst, and then after I continued, I went to Mysterium, and also I did some translation for Abduction. It's like a family, and it's not a game that you play and then you put it on the cupboard. It's like it's a world in which, of course, you read the books, and it becomes a whole world. It becomes friends. And I would like to say hi to Danny, who's looking from Poland.
I know. I was going to say, Daniel says hi.
It's like it has a whole a whole real dimension, and it really affects our life, like in a way, that's meeting people. When I went to Mysterium and I saw people who say like what difference our games had made in their life, people who deal with difficult situations on an everyday basis, and I realized, yes, this makes a difference.
I agree, Genevieve. Like that took things to a whole other level. The Mysterium was both talk amazing. About Toronto. I felt like, oh my God, like what we're doing, and I just wanted to carry that over to the team, and it's so difficult, because you tell them like what people are reacting to and what they're saying, but it's like, because it's their work, that and we're just like there we're just a few faces, that get that feedback, that receive the feedback, but is tremendous. And to feel like, okay, this is deep, like, and this community is amazing, it felt very privileged to be welcomed by the community.
I was really glad when they decided to have Mysterium 2004 in Toronto, which obviously made it easier for us to sell to the guys at UB Montreal that we wanted to go there. And yeah, you've both talked to me separately about what an impact that had on you as game developers, and just realizing how special the Myst community is. So for everybody watching, and obviously there are more people watching today than would be possible if we were in any city. So I'm pretty thankful, even though it's because of awful circumstances, the fact that we're all here virtually is really special. Like I would love to see future gatherings that are virtual for Myst fans that aren't able to attend in person, because I think it's a pretty cool experience to be able to chat with you guys, and for you guys to hear what it means to the fans to have made those games. So I guess one of the biggest questions, I've seen it from 5 or 6 people, is to talk about Peter and Jack. I know you told this story last year about what it was like working with Peter Gabriel and how that all came about, but how did that actually come about? At what point was he asked to be involved? Was that all because of Didier Lord?
Yeah, I mean,
tell us about that experience. That was so cool.
You know, from my memory, it was just one of those things where Didier Lord, who's the head of music for Ubisoft at the time, he just said, hey, you know, because I was going to Bratislava in Poland to do some stuff. And he goes, while you're here, why don't we organize a trip to go see Peter in England, which is, he's got a real world studios in Bath, England. And the reason was because he was trying to license a track from Peter for the game. So, yeah, so I went to Bratislava, then I went to Warsaw, Poland to record the Warsaw Village Band for the song Welcome. Then we went to Paris to meet with the team there. And then Didier took us all out to, we all met there, I guess, and went out to Real World Studio, took the shuttle over to London and then a train out to Bath, England. And that was probably one of the most memorable trips of my entire life. It was just such a dream come true to meet him. He's my absolute idol. Mm-hmm. And it was just great to be there with everyone. Patrick, you got to show the picture.
Oh, yeah.
Patrick, show the picture.
You'll have to duck, but yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So this would be from 2003, I guess. Yep. Look at the babies. Yeah, so there's Genevieve. I don't know. Then Didier, then Jack, then Patrick, and then Peter Gabriel himself.
And Peter is pushing me down. I'm actually taller than him, and he's pushing on my
cute.
And I'm like, why are you doing that? He's like,
who's that beside you?
I'm gonna be taller than you on the picture, and I'm like, dude, come on.
Oh, that's the guitar. That's the guitar player for Peter's band. Yeah.
Oh,
I can't remember his name right now, but yeah.
What's funny also is that Didier Lord was absolutely not familiar with me. So we ended up being 2 Lords working on the game.
Oh my God, I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
so
that's awesome. Funny. Yeah.
And I have another quick story about that song, the Peter Gabriel song. We got towards
the one in the middle of the dream sequence, right?
Right, yeah. And so just got to unpin this video. Hold on a second.
This is for you, Evite. This will answer your question about the song in the middle of the dream sequence.
Right. So, one second. I for some reason I got it. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's called Curtains.
Curtains, right. So I was talking to Genevieve. You could probably add something to the story, but everyone was, you know how game production is, you're really struggling at the very end of production to get everything done, and nothing had been done for the song. And I said, well, I have some ideas about how we could use the song. And they said, okay, well, we'll listen. Maybe I was talking to Patrick too, I'm not sure. You can come back in, Patrick, by the way.
Yeah, I see. Just
anyway, so I actually did a little extra credit work on the game and storyboarded the whole sequence. And then I remember, and I sent it in, and I don't remember our conversations after that, but I just sent it in blindly. And then I played the game and I got to that sequence, and it was exactly the way I storyboarded.
Wow.
And it was really cool. I was like so proud of that, that I had something to do with that. Beyond the music part of the game, just like storyboarding, right. how the sequence would work with the song. It's very cool. Very cool. I watched it recently too. It still kind of holds up. It's pretty cool.
So Patrick, you're not the only one who has show and tell. So this is for Help, I'm Stuck in the Matrix. I told you I had a mangry. I have a mangry.
Oh gosh.
Nice.
Here he is from our booth at E3.
Oh, good.
Genevieve, we were taking the booth down, and you said, does anyone want this? And you guys were all laughing. You were going to throw it away. I said, I will take that on the plane, and I will take it home with me. And my kids and my husband have been teasing me, I don't know, for 15 years. And I finally has a purpose. Like, I haven't been able to take it anywhere else or show it any other time. And it's like, we're all stuck at home. I can show them my crowd. So
you should take it anytime you go to a Mysterium in person.
do you know the looks I got the first time it was on a plane? I don't think they'd let it go on a plane this time. I just want to say for a moment, we've talked about Mary a couple of times, and there are a few people out there who don't know who Mary is. So Mary DeMarle is her full name, and she was the head writer, one of the writers on Myst III and head writer on Myst IV. And I mean, Patrick, you can talk about what she's doing these days, but she's just incredible. If you have the Exile, the Prima strategy guide for Exile or Revelation, Mary was one of the writers on those as well. Like she's just, yeah, she's phenomenal.
Yeah, she's great. And after her time at after Myst, she left Ubisoft. She went to Eidos Montreal, and she started working on rebooting the Deus Ex franchise, Deus Ex Human Revolution, and where she continued a lot of the same work, you know, in terms of world building, and really think, you know, like that's the way we approach games at Eidos. Like we don't just put something, any piece of technology, you know, we're like, okay, well, who built it? Which company is it from? What is this company? Is this an industrial company? Is this a public, you know, like all the background, you know, that we need to understand, you know, because then once we understand it, then we know how to shape it. And it's all the stuff that not necessarily in the game, you know, this company is not necessarily in the game, but like for us, we need to understand it because we need to know what it's going to look like. We need to, like, how would it be used and how would it be designed and how would it be, and it's the same approach that that we've continued. And then she worked on Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which was a sequel to Human Revolution, which I worked on as well. And then we started with the same core team. We started the current project that we're working on, which is also like heavily narrative based, which is like on purpose. Like we wanted to, we all kind of like that, you know, it's a lot of the same philosophies and a lot of the same ideas as Myst, and just taken, you know, to another level of with more possibilities maybe for like choice and consequences. But always, you know, having the players being able to play freely and then, you know, decide how he wants to go about things and finding his own solutions, which is something, you know, we wanted in Revelation, you know, the way that you can kind of explore things how you want and out of order. And that was important to us to keep on that tradition. We felt, you know, that was a big thing. And yeah, you know, she's tremendous. She's their whole universe is alive in her brain.
So Rand was watching. I believe his last name's Miller. He said so amazed. He said so amazed with the love you guys put into Myst IV, and it's so nice to see your faces virtually. So thanks.
Oh,
nice.
We miss you.
Yeah. Hello, Rand.
So I actually have a last question for all of you before we wrap up. Even though we're allowed to go a couple minutes over, I want to give everybody a chance to take a break before the next panel. So the last question I have for each of you is, what is something that you would want to tell Myst fans about yourself, the game, or your lives since you created Revelation, and just how Myst has made a difference in your life, which I think has been a recurring theme throughout, but what's something that maybe they don't know or don't realize?
Well, me, after going to Mysterium and seeing people who had all kinds of issues in their life and how the games had helped them, multiple Myst games, I created a Facebook page. It's called Positive Impact Game. So you can look for Positive Impact Game Facebook page. And every day, more or less, we try to post something about a game that makes a difference in the life of people, or encourage the game developer to put positive impact content in the game. So that was a direct result of my Mysterium experience.
It's very, very cool. I'm a member.
Thank you.
Yay. What about you, Jack?
Geez, I don't know. I would say that, like, of all the games I've composed for, the two Myst games are big standouts for me because they really were. I've never been so free to write whatever I wanted to. You know, usually when you're working on a game like a shooter or something like that, you're always kind of trying to sound, you need to sound a little bit like the latest movie that was out in a similar genre kind of thing. And this was like, no, you need to reinvent like what, you have to invent the music for this game. And that was such a freeing and wonderful creative exercise for me. And as it's just been, and I always loved Myst from the, 1993 when it came. I think I played it first in 1994. Ever since then, it's been a real highlight in terms of, one of the standouts in terms of all entertainment for me. Just really blew me away how it was going to change everything. And just being involved with, I'm just so proud to be involved with these two games. Just amazing.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, and Patrick, you?
Oh, well, I guess for me, it's like just it's really the game where I started learning my craft and understand, like just the contact with Cyan, and like I said, like reading how they had gone about developing the original, and then visiting Cyan, meeting Rand, and seeing like how they were operating there, and it's just like that's so much respect. And it's amazing, it's amazing, the studio, like, and over the years, and what Rand is doing, about, building worlds, but you're, a company, it's its own little, like you're responsible for so many families, and you got to keep it, growing and all that. But I guess the takeaway was like the level of commitment necessary to really make, great games, and to, like, you got to go all in. You got to commit to everything, like you got to think about every little thing. There's nothing trivial, from the slightest sound to the little smallest image, or the, how is this line, written or delivered, and you have to pay attention to all of that. And I came more from game design, so it really opened my eyes, for in regards to how do you go about crafting something like that, and really thinking about world building, and that theirs is second to none, and then from there, that's how you naturally approach everything, like you're always, yes, but is this in line with this and that, and it just becomes a reflex. But nothing is gratuitous, nothing is just everything has a purpose, everything has a meaning, and we were really committed into making something that we wanted it to be worthy of the Myst family, and like everybody was all in. And it's like it's difficult at times because of that, you can get little clashes of opinions or emotions, passion, and things like that. You get, exactly, passion is gonna, but you need that passion to drive otherwise what kind of result are you gonna get if you're not passionate about it? And you got to go in, and like we were all in, and then it's nice to get the reaction back from the fans, because you're like, well, okay, that was worth those efforts, like they appreciate every single little detail.
Kha'tie, I have an anecdote regarding what Pat just said.
Okay.
I love inventories. I'm a real inventory fanatic. I love collecting things and putting them in inventory. So I joined the team, and I go to Pat and I say, oh, it would be so great to have an inventory. And then he looked at me, and then he put me in home, and he explained to me this whole concept that he just explained, we don't just put an inventory because we like inventory. No.
Right.
You remember that, Pat?
Yeah.
So that was one of
our first conversations, I think. We were just starting to know one another, and I was like, oh boy, what's gonna happen here?
So when we all played Myst, we saw the tagline that said the surrealistic adventure that will become your world. And as players, that was true. But as devs, that's also true. It did become our world, even if it was only for a couple years, 3 or 4 years, in some cases, 17 years. I mean, it really did become our world. And so just like anybody who's watching, if you worked on a Myst game, not just played it, but worked on it, it became your world in that way too. So thank you all so much, guys and gals.
Kha'tie, can I ask you one question? Can I ask you one question?
Me? Oh no.
Yeah. How's the Kickstarter coming?
Oh, so I haven't looked in the last 20 minutes. The Kickstarter. So for those who don't know, Philip Shane, award-winning filmmaker, is making a documentary about Myst, and we're in our final 5 days. It actually ends in 5 days, 1 hour from now. Not that I'm counting the hours. And we're really excited because we're creeping towards 80% funded right now. So we're really excited about the bump Mysterium's given it, and all of you guys who have backed it, we really appreciate it. And anybody who hasn't, if you can, we'd love it. And if you can share it, that helps too. If you go to the Myst document, I'm losing all my words now because you asked me about the project I'm so excited about. The mystdocumentary.com is where you can go to find it. And there's been links, I'm sure, in the chat as we've been talking. So thank you guys, all of you, so much. I'm sure Philip will want to talk to all of you a little bit more after this. So thank you, everybody. Have fun at Mysterium.
Bye.
Thank you. Great to see you guys.